Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Glen, New Hampshire. Well, today's verse is Matthew 5:43. It says, "You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy." And of course, this is building to one of the absolute climaxes of the Sermon on the Mount, love your enemy. Well, the first thing I'd like to point out was, did you know that this is the first mention of the word love in the New Testament? Even the Sermon on the Mount didn't use the word love until this point, although it has been implying love and building up to this point. So I thought it'd be good to give a quick overview of where we've come so far. We started with the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those that mourn. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. And blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. That's already indicating that we're supposed to love our enemies, even at this early stage. And why? Because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Remember that I suggested the kingdom of heaven was that godly mindset. When we fall in love with Him, He gives us new desires, His desires. So we start having His desires, speaking His words, doing His actions, and showing His love. That is the mindset of Christ and also the kingdom of God. Then it goes to, you are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Well, that's what happens when you have this mindset. Then Jesus starts a big section, starting with, you've heard, or don't think that I came to abolish the law. I did not come to abolish it, but to fulfill. And then he gives specific examples. You've heard, don't murder. I say, don't even be angry. You've heard, don't commit adultery. I say, don't even lust. And he gives all these higher examples. And then he goes to vengeance, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Jesus says, no, don't resist an evil person. If he slaps you, turn the other cheek. If he sues you, give him more. If he forces you to go a mile, go with him another mile. And now we finally get to this, you've heard it, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. And he's going to just turn that on his ear. But it's getting to the point where we're going to treat our enemy like our neighbor. And that's the whole point. Let's see a perfect cross-reference here. In Luke chapter 10, someone asked Jesus, what are the great commandments? And he says, love the Lord and then love your neighbor as yourself. And someone asked him, well, who's my neighbor? And in Luke 10:30, Jesus says, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, if he's from Jerusalem, the implication is that he is a Jew. Okay, so there's a Jew going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, fell among robbers. They stripped him, beat him, went away, leaving him half dead. By chance, a priest was going down the road. When he saw him, passed the other side. Likewise, a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, passed on the other side. Now, these two were also Jews. They were religious Jews. They were law keepers, and they didn't give this guy any help. So Jesus is saying, you might keep the law, but this is the higher calling that you need to get to. Then it says, but a Samaritan. Now the Samaritans were hated by the Jews. They were shunned by the Jews. They were not welcome in their society. They were not allowed to worship with them. They were not allowed to intermarry. They were treated like dirt by Jewish society. And so here's the Samaritan who was on a journey, came up to him, and when he saw him, he didn't shun this guy, even though this was a guy that would normally shun him. He felt compassion and came to him, bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. He put him on his own beast, brought him to an inn, took care of him. On the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper and said, take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will return. When I return, I will repay you. That is really treating someone with love, and someone who normally would be your enemy. You want to treat them like your neighbor. And just to finish out the parable, Jesus says, which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell into the robber's hands? And they said, the one who showed mercy toward him. Then Jesus said to him, go and do the same. We need to treat our enemies like our neighbors, like our closest friends. We can't do it on our own, but we can through His powerful love. Because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a good week.